Good morning, everyone. This will be the January 18th Coos County Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 8:30 a.m. Let us open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda today is we have two public hearings. The first will be the annexation. There's an error on our agenda. It's the annexation to the Coquille Rural Fire Protection District. I'm sorry, annexation to the Coquille Rural Fire Protection District. And County Council Nathaniel, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so this is a single parcel annexation. We mailed out the written notice required by to the Coquille Rural Fire Protection District and the petitioner. The planning department has submitted a report indicating the proposed annexation is consistent with the provisions of the Coos County Zoning and Land Development Ordinance, and then the Fire Protection District has signed off on the annexation. That's a requirement for us to even process these. So.
Okay, Mr. Chair, move to approve order 22-01-002L granting Joseph Bradley's petition for annexation into the Coquille Rural Fire Protection District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion is approved. We'll move next to a public hearing regarding an ordinance amending Article 11 on the Coos County Code to create processes for a county code compliance hearings officer. County Council.
Okay, so this is the second hearing on ordinance 2112-011L. Published on January 4th, 2022, and posted in accordance with Oregon law. This ordinance would create an administrative process that would allow violations of the county code to be cited to a county hearings officer with the authority to conduct hearings and impose civil penalties and other remedies if a violation has occurred. The new divisions would not keep the county from taking any other action already allowable by law, which would include citations to appear in circuit court for violations of the county code. And I just as a note, if this does pass today, it'll go into effect in 90 days, and I will put out a solicitation for the county to hire a hearings officer.
Okay, three actions are necessary today. The first is to read the ordinance by title, which I will do. Ordinance 21-12-011L, an ordinance of Coos County creating provisions for administrative code enforcement procedures and procedures for code compliance hearings officers. The second is to take public hearings on public comment on the ordinance. Is there any? Bobby, if there is.
I see none.
All right. Give it a little more time. Hearing none, then we move to the third requested action, which is for the Board of Commissioners to adopt the ordinance. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make motion to adopt ordinance 21-12-011L, amending Article 11 of the Coos County Code to create a process for code compliance hearings officer.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion amongst the Board of Commissioners?
Nope.
If there is none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion approved. We'll move then to item 3A, request of approval of an IGA with the Oregon Health Authority and authorize Mike Rowley to sign on behalf of Coos Health and Wellness. Mike, are you here?
Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Excuse me, calendar year contract from the state to provide choice model services, which is care coordination for adults with serious persistent mental illness, and it involves giving them room and board, rental assistance, utilities, prescriptions, transportation, rep pay, et cetera. And it's for $197,000 for the year.
Thank you, Michael.
I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Health Authority and authorize Mike Rowley to sign.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Motion approved. Item 3B, request approval of contract for Bay Apartments and authorize chair to sign. Mike
Yes,
Rowley
this
again.
is, another calendar year contract with Columbia Care. We've had this longstanding contract for many, many years, and it provides transitional housing for our clients as well as a case manager. The total value of this contract is $106,800 for the year.
Okay, I move to approve the contract amendment with Columbia Care for Bay Apartments and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mike, it's my understanding that this is basically case managed housing for people that have behavioral health issues. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any further questions? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion approved. Item 3C, request approval of a contract for Pony Creek and authorize chair to sign.
This is another calendar year contract with Columbia Care. It's a long-standing contract we've had with them to provide room and board for 4 rooms for adults. The total value of this contract is $132,000.
Okay, I move to approve the contract with Columbia Care for Pony Creek and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mike, there's quite a difference per room. What, can you explain the differences to us?
Yeah, so the Pony Creek room and board is more treatment, where Bay Apartments is more transitional housing.
Thank you. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion is approved. Move on to item 3D, discussion regarding a possible emergency declaration, emergency management. Gabe, are you going to do this, or is Chip going to do it?
Chip was gonna do it. He's on. He might be having trouble with his audio.
He's unmuted now.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, Chip.
So as you all know, we had an interesting combination of weather phenomenon, uncommon snow levels coupled with uncommon wind level, and then heavy rain after that, which caused communities of Allegheny and Arago to have some transit problems. In speaking with PP&L, they had over 100 100 employees out working on the issue. I think, as far as I know from this office, everything was resolved rather quickly. We did not require any outside aid. And it's in speaking to our state, our region representative from FEMA, we did not quite meet the public assistance threshold. So I don't believe there's any action that can be taken on that at this time.
How does FEMA determine that, Chip? I'm sorry.
So FEMA determines that the fiscal year 2022 thresholds, there are 2. They are both determined by population. The county population is 64,929. Each person is given a value of $4.10 for a total threshold of $266,208.90. We may have met that threshold, although I have not personally heard that we have. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, I suppose, we did not meet the state threshold, which is calculated at $1.63 per person, with a total of $6,906,727.28. In speaking to our regional representative, we did not meet as a state that threshold for public assistance funds.
I know in the past, we've sent out emails asking people to let us know if they have damages. Did we do that? Or is that not necessary?
I made contacts with some of the larger corporations. I know the port was one of them. Spoke with PP&L quite a bit and several others. Nobody other than the port seemed to have some good, fairly solid damages. No one else seemed to be really interested in giving me a cost figure or an itemized report.
I know that, can we count damages within the city? Because I know the city of Coquille, there's been a building that was damaged from the windstorm and is going to have to come down. It seems like that's going to be a significant cost.
We can, I would have to speak to our representative about that. There is some gray area with the building in Coquille, as it was already previously damaged to a fire, and part of its structural integrity issues actually stems from the fact that they had a renovation company in there working on it. So I'm not sure how that would play into all of this.
Okay, I'm just curious, and especially as it relates to the cost, the city must be incurring costs right now to keep one lane blocked off and for the cost of the demolition that's going to have to occur. If that can be counted and we can help the city in some way, I'd like to see us do so, because this is going to be significant for the city of Coquille.
Unfortunately, as far as public assistance money from FEMA goes, both the county and the statewide thresholds have to be met. And because the statewide threshold was not met, we are not eligible for that. And the only county I know of in the state that had declared a state of emergency over this particular instance was the city of Multnomah. And in speaking with our representative from FEMA, he was unsure exactly why they had done that, but they had.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Do you have any other questions of me?
Someone else might. I feel like I've monopolized the conversation. So.
No, those are good questions, and I think it helps clarify how this works and whether we did or did not. And it doesn't look like as though we met the thresholds. So it's important to know how this works.
I told Phil to have her talk to Nat because Nat's the one that set him up in there.
Okay, let's move on to
I
item
don't know
3F, a request approval
Thank you.
to use American Rescue Plan funds to replace eForce software.
You
Sheriff
skipped one, John.
Zanny, or Gabriel, Gabe, you gonna handle this?
Yes,
John, you
please.
skipped one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 3E, I beg your pardon. Request approval of communication site and equipment use IGA with the city of Coos Bay. Sheriff.
Am I taking this, Nat?
Perfect.
Okay. So as part of the process for upgrading the towers, it's a joint co-location agreement with CFPA, City of Coos Bay, and the City of North Bend. In this case, the IGA governs the arrangements between the city and county with Coos Bay. Under the IGA, the upgraded equipment provided to Coos Bay will remain county property since it's the county levy that's paying for it. But the county shall not be required to maintain the equipment unless a future maintenance agreement is reached. We haven't reached a maintenance agreement yet. If it's not reached, they'll be obligated to perform routine maintenance on the equipment themselves. So this is requesting the board to approve and sign the communication site and equipment use IGA with the city of Coos Bay specifically.
Thank you, Gabe.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the communication site and equipment use in the IGA with City of Coos Bay.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, motion approved. Now we'll go to item 3F.
All right.
Request approval to use American Rescue Plan funds to replace the eForce software. Sheriff or Gabe, who's going to handle this?
Me, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So exactly that, requesting the American Recovery Plan funds to potentially enter a contract with CIS Computer Information Systems to replace our computer-aided dispatch and record management system, as well as the jail management system software. This would be a 10-year upfront contract. The idea being it'll actually save us a bunch of money in the end, approximately $59,453 over the 10 years by going into an upfront contract. Additionally, of course, we won't have the annual recurring fee that will have to come out of the general fund. We've had demonstrations, a couple demonstrations from the company. They came out here, talked to all the different agencies. We've spoken to other agencies throughout the country that use the program. Very, very, very favorable responses. The quote does include maintenance, support. They'll be creating all the records or forms that we need. They'll come out and train us and implement it as well, all included in that quote. So it's one time upfront, done and done. Requesting that the board approve use of ARP funds once we, and by we I mean County Council and the Sheriff's Office, agree to the contract. Approve the use of ARP funds to enter a contract with CIS for a period of 10 years, not to exceed $265,076.06.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, move to approve ARP funds to enter into contract with CIS for a period of 10 years, not to exceed $265,076.06.
Thank you. I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that IT has been part of this conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and they're fine. There's not a spot for IT to sign off, so I just want to make sure they're okay with it.
Yes, I sent them the 62-page contract. They looked through that whole thing and Darius has given me feedback on it already.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
This will also include a new server, the hardware and software for it.
Okay.
I have a question. This sounds like a very good deal. I appreciate your putting it together. But what happens when this contract or when this arrangement is no longer in place? Are we going to have, is whoever's around here at that time going to have to come up with $250,000 all of a sudden? Is there some way we can work toward funding that as we go, so that when that happens 10 years from now, we're not in a bind?
That's a wonderful idea. These guys typically go by annual contracts with a not to exceed 5% riser, but we could certainly look at setting aside annual increments to replace it in 10 years. I think that's a great idea.
Probably won't get through the budget committee because there's always so much need for cash right now. But I think it would be wise to try to do something like that.
Copy that.
So further discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed or aye?
Aye.
Those
I would say we saved almost 60,000 going this direction currently.
No, that's good. I like that. Okay, did I hear 3 ayes?
Yeah.
Okay, motion approved. Move on then to item 3G, request approval of criminal justice grant and authorize chair to sign and approve a resolution adding appropriations. This would go to finance and state courts. Who's going to handle this?
Good morning, Commissioners. It's Thomas.
Oh, there you are, Thomas. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me. I am here seeking.
Go ahead.
No, John, Commissioner Sweet, I cut you off there.
You said, thank you for having me. I said, you're always such a burden. No, it's a pleasure to have you.
So I am here. It's a pleasure to be here. I am here seeking the approval of a grant award that I applied for through the Criminal Justice Commission, seeking funding to develop a family treatment court for dependency cases. The funding and pass through from CJC to the county for the general fund is $74,250. And for this fiscal year, we're appropriating $16,000 out of those funds to be utilized for drug testing costs for participants, transportation costs for participants, and housing costs for participants through Bay Area First Step and possibly through ADAPT services as we develop this program for individuals in dependency matters in our community here in Coos County.
Thank you. Exciting.
It is. It
Thank
is
you,
very
Thomas.
exciting. It's a very good opportunity to hopefully stabilize some families in our community and keep their children in the household.
All right, with that, I would like to move to approve and authorize the chair to sign grant agreement SC 23-049 with the State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission for the Coos County Family Treatment Court implementation in the amount of $74,250, and approve and sign resolution 22-01-001B.
A second, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion approved. Thomas, thank you so much for your work on this.
Thank you as well. It can't be done without a collective group of individuals that are trying to improve our community. So I want to thank the board as well and Megan's office as well as our treatment providers and others in the community that are making this a success.
Okay, well,
Thanks.
with that, let's move on to 3H, which is a request to approve a transfer of appropriations for the medical examiner's office.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe the district attorney is signed on. I'll take this.
Thank you, Bob.
They had some unexpected increases in some of their items, so they needed a transfer of $10,000 from miscellaneous Department of Materials and Services to Medical Examiner Division Materials and Services.
I move to approve resolution 22-01-007B.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Hmm.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion approved. Item 3I, request approval of IGA with the Oregon Youth Authority and authorized chair to sign. Juvenile Department.
I don't see Director Baird signed on.
Okay.
So I would ask that approval of the IGA 14812 Oregon Youth Authority for reimbursement for qualified juvenile records, expansion of those records, and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion?
My understanding is this is directly related to a bill passed last session, which requires us to expunge qualified juvenile records, and this is money being transferred to us from Oregon Youth Authority to fulfill that duty.
Good.
Right.
Thank you. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion approved. Item 3J, request approval of conference room improvements, maintenance, and IT.
Theirs is self-muted. I don't see.
Mike's. Good morning, everybody. How are you today?
We hear you're
Kind of hear him.
not coming through real clearly, Mike.
How about now?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. What we're looking at is we have got a request for the Owen building, and we had two different ideas. One was to put the stage, I'll call it, I guess, for to put it into the corner and or put it kind of facing in the center of the room. I was not able to get the total costs for the center of the room for the material costs. But anyways, we are looking at to be approved for $31,000. That also covers the IT supplies that are needed to do the needed equipment. What is
the audio stuff? So new microphones. There's a slide out so we can re-rack that equipment, cables and stuff like that. Pretty much everything we need to upgrade the microphones in that room. So the commissioners and the people that are testifying or presenting will be able to be heard clearly.
Also in that will be adding new carpet to that floor that has needed carpet for some time now.
Well, all of those things are definitely needed. We've dealt with the microphone issue for quite some time.
That's correct.
Yeah, it was hard for people to hear.
Yes. And with the new requirement that we continue on with hybrid meetings until the legislature removes that requirement. I think it's smart to get this done now. So I appreciate you guys taking this on and giving us such a thorough estimate.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, move to approve 31,000 from ARP funds for the boardroom improvements.
So could I, really quick, Commissioner Main,
You may.
what do you think about putting, I know it says that gives us the room for any added supplies or changes. I feel like we should just round it off at 35,000 to make it less likely that they're going to have to come back to us for a small change.
I was wondering that, Commissioner Cribbins. So I'll amend my motion to say 35,000.
Thank you. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve $35,000 of ARP funds for boardroom improvements. And I'll say again that part of these improvements are mandated, are they not? In order to be able to have a hybrid meeting.
Right.
Yeah, some of that's in here. We've been working on that. We actually downloaded a trial copy of some software, IT purchased some parts. There's still a little bit more that we need to do, but in order to make the system work and usable, the bigger part is those microphones and the cabling required to do it. You know, it's really hard to hear you guys, and it's complicated because we're pulling the two systems together, and they're really not meant to work together. So we're part of it, yes, we're building a system to pull the hybrid and the in-person in together and then be able to stream them out to YouTube and keep them as recorded meetings for future.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion?
I appreciate the work because we put this system together that we've got right at the moment on kind of a lick and a prayer as everything was happening and we were moving forward faster than we were ready to. So I'm glad we're doing something to solidify it up for the future.
Do you need a decision about where we want to have these improvements sent? Do we want it in the center of the room or do you want it in the corner?
I would prefer to have it in the corner.
Mr. Chair, I would prefer to have it as we do it now because the room is set up that way. It would make the room awkward being in a corner in a rectangular room.
I just want to say nobody puts Bobby in the corner, right?
We'll have this discussion offline. I don't think it's that so important that we have to do that here today. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion approved. Item 3K, request approval to use American Rescue Plan funds for the fair maintenance.
You want to do the second? We're requesting the funds that was at a previous discussed November 15th. We're asking for ARP funds for $100,000 for the first year, $75,000 for the second year, and then $25,000 per year thereafter as discussed. The money would be used to address building maintenance, safety concerns, and electrical and plumbing. I believe I sent you guys an email on some of the pricing just for awareness, and I cannot find the email for the pricing that I sent. But after looking through the fairgrounds, we have significant electrical issues. We have some of the buildings that we actually need to go underneath to reinforce the foundations on them. With electrical, we have some real lighting issues also need to be addressed. There's just been a lot of time that the fair has not had proper funding to keep up on the maintenance. And this money would first be allocated for safety, and then we would go from safety into more of maintenance and preventive maintenance in the future.
Thanks, Mike. This is exactly what I had in mind anyway. So I appreciate the work that you guys have done to pull this together.
I have a question. This makes it sound as though the $25,000 per year goes on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Was that our intent, or was it? Did we? I was thinking of three three payments, 100,000 the first, 75, and then 25.
That was my understanding.
And it also, Mr. Chair, it also constrained the budget for future years, and it's up to the budget committee whether they want to fund that or not for each year.
Yes. So this will be just a 3-year program that we're voting on today, funded by the American Rescue Plan funds to catch up on on the maintenance and safety of our fair.
So we're
I have a
approving the
motion
first
to that
100,000.
effect. Pardon me?
Yes, I move to approve an expenditure of $100,000 from American Rescue Plan funds for fair maintenance for the current year.
A second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any more discussion? Those in favors, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion approved.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion approved. There are no late agenda items. We've moved citizen comments we used to have at the first of the meeting to the end of the meeting for the purpose of these virtual meetings. Do we have any citizen comments?
I think we have someone in the law library that is wanting to comment.
Thank you.
They need to unmute. Oh, they don't? Okay.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Darius.
But there's nothing saying about
All right, so I have this individual in my office. I'm going to turn my mic over to her to comment, and I don't recall your name. You can-
Hello? Yes,
Yes.
my name is Nancy Grayson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Myself and other people showed up for the public hearing, which we were shuffled into a room without a mic or access. We got to watch you go right past the ordinance where you said there was no one there, even though the county council let us into the room to watch the meeting without giving us any input. And I really feel that that ordinance, the double jeopardy situation, I find it very underhanded to have the only announcement for the meeting on Christmas Eve in the paper. Many people do not have access to the internet or computers, and they have diligently supported their county and all of your salaries through their tax dollars. And we feel slighted. And we think that if you have enough money, then that's one thing to form another department. But how is the department on the codes division going to be funded? And how is that going to go on? And where is the public input in this meeting? That seems like you guys are the fundraisers for the carpetbagger brigade. And that's unfair. I mean, yes, people are distressed. Yes, they have issues. But to openly disregard any input and attack in this manner is unscrupulous, unfair, and unwarranted. And it needs to be heard, even the voices you don't want to hear. And I think you need to relook at that and just, if you have codes, you have your codes officer. You know, hiring another person is not the same as opening up a whole new division with all of the ramifications and the additives that goes in that. If we're having funding problems by watching these approval with no discussion and no input, I can see where the county would be in financial distress. That's apparent, and I really wish you would consider that. The whole thing seems really underhanded and unscrupulous. And I really think that you should rethink that approval on that meeting that would have been attended had anyone allowed any public input.
Well, Ms. Grayson, this is Commissioner Sweet. I certainly apologize if things are the way you put them. We certainly didn't mean for that to happen. Dealing with the COVID virus and having these virtual meetings is kind of disruptive. Certainly been no intent on our part whatsoever to do anything out of the public's eye. We take great precautions to be sure. This is the very first I've heard of any concerns about the a compliance hearings officer. Everything I've heard has been very positive about it. Although not certainly we have not heard anything at all in our meetings. Do you have some concerns beyond
I have concerns
process?
about not having any input. If you're only listening to the people that you choose to, you're not going to hear the problem.
That's not the case. This. How many hearings have we had now on this? This is at least the second hearing.
This is the second hearing. The only notice was in the paper December 24th, Christmas Eve. And there's been no allowances. I know people that went to the first hearing that said they testified from some type of cage to keep everyone safe. And I'm not exactly sure what they were referring to, but I do not feel that you are listening to the people who have supported and paying your salary. Taxation without representation comes to mind.
Commissioner Sweet, if I may.
Please.
Number one, we don't have a cage. If we do, I think I would have seen it by now. But the other thing is, I think there might be a little bit of confusion. What's happened during COVID is that state courts have made a lot of precautions in order to keep things safe during COVID. We understand why they've done that, but it means that our code violations issues are way down on the priority list for being heard in court. So we can cite people on codes issues, but they're not getting heard in state court because of that. So what we are doing with this is not creating a whole new division. When it says division, it's referring to the ordinance itself. What we're doing is potentially, this will give us the flexibility to contract with a hearings officer to come in and hear those cases. So they don't have to go through state court. So we can get faster action for neighbors that are having issues, and we have more flexibility. The cost is not expected to be the cost of a full-time employee by any stretch. And the next step is the legal counsel will send out a request for, probably a request for quotes for people that are interested in serving as the hearings officer. More than likely, it's going to require them to have a legal background. And we'll be looking at having an attorney a few hours a month, to hear these cases so we can get through the backlog and get people faster action when their neighbors or when squatters, frankly, are on their neighbor's property and not behaving in a way that's appropriate for residential neighborhoods.
If I may, this is Nathaniel County Council. Thanks Commissioner Cribbins. I just wanted to add that when I hire someone to serve as a hearings officer for county code violations, it will be within what has already been approved for my budget. So essentially, instead of hiring more outside counsel on other issues, I'll make sure that I have enough funds in my already approved budget to pay for this. It's not expected to be significant. It's just someone who once a month will hear some code violation hearings and cases.
That doesn't address the double jeopardy of having the county come in and fine people on the same ordinance. I understand. I have had numerous incidences of dealing with people unhoused and unethical, but I didn't expect them to be county commissioners. And the county commissioners are well housed because everyone's taxes go up to afford it. but not to have a double jeopardy situation. And this ordinance spells exactly out that the county can come in and fine people for the same exact thing. And then with the COVID and everything, we need to be considerate of all the people in the county, distressed or otherwise. The people who are housed to have just as much rights as those that are not housed. That's just true. But to expedite things in a depressed COVID situation seems a bit unethical.
Mr. Chair, I would remind the speaker that we discussed this at some length on the January 4th Board of Commissioners meeting, and it was advertised before that for at least
One time, December 24th.
but the hearing was on January 4th.
But the announcement for the hearing was December 24th.
It's also published on our website too. I know not everybody has a computer.
The internet, computers, or has the ability to use them. Many people who are paying their taxes and doing their best are not being heard. And it's easy for you to overlook that because it's not you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. We appreciate you taking the time to come today. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, I echo that. Thank you, Ms. Grayson. Are there any other citizen comments?
Hi, John, Melissa, Bob. This is Phil.
Hi, Phil.
I didn't intend to speak on this subject, but my experience with, and let me make sure, I believe what Nathaniel said about his budget. I'm not getting accusing him of not being truthful. You take these municipal judges and stuff, they get paid by fines. You take the garbage dump out there, we pay for it, it's always going up and stuff. So this guy is going to have some way to get his salary, because you're not going to be in that seat all the time. So the only logical way I see is he's going to have to find the citizens regardless in order to stay in business itself. And that's all the comment I got. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
The whole intent of this ordinance is that, the whole intent of this ordinance is that we have many situations where we have small parcels or any other parcels with camps on them without sewer, without water, and we've been trying to get those cleaned up. The owners ignore us, especially out-of-state banks, and it is not fair to the neighbors to have to put up with that kind of business. That's the reason, and it's very slow going through our state courts. That's the reason we instituted this magistrate situation, so that eventually we can take care of those properties who are causing problems for all of their neighbors.
Thank you for that explanation, Commissioner Main. Is there any other comments citizens would like to make?
Yeah, this is Dick Mark.
Hi, Dick.
Hi. Hey, I was here January the 4th, I guess because of the way the setup in Bob's room. I never heard anything about this public meeting. So I don't know if it's just the way the speakers were or what, or why I never heard anything commented on this public meeting about been talked to just a while ago.
Well,
I'm against having people turn other people in just to satisfy the county.
Well, Mr. Chair, I might talk to Mr. Mort in that he and Phil sat in my office on January 4th when this was discussed, when we were talking about it in the board meeting, right in my office here.
And there was another gentleman that was here to testify, and he came in my office, and I left, and he testified from there. I don't know if Dick remembers him being here.
Pony. Yeah, I was there. Bob asked on the citizens meeting if we wanted to say anything. I didn't want to say anything then, but like I said, it evidently the speakers or the mask or what, I never heard that, you know, coming across that this public meeting and what it was about. I heard a lot of the other ones I could understand.
Well, Dick, it wasn't a public meeting. It was an agenda item to have a public hearing on this ordinance that would create a compliance hearings officer. And you could look on the agenda for the last meeting, and it's right there. So
we never had any agenda meetings paper to follow what was going on. Last in January the 4th or this one meeting.
All right. Is there any further citizen comment?
I'll let you go. I don't think it's right.
Thank you. Is there a commissioner comment?
Do you want our commissioner reports?
Reports, yes. Excuse me.
I'll go first. I'll try to be a little quick. I was in Washington, D.C. last week for the National Association of Counties Presidents and Executives meeting, and we were able to meet with representatives of the White House who gave us updates on some of the initiatives, including a lot of funding initiatives. Also met with Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden, Representative Bentz, and Representative Schrader, and just talked about a lot of the issues that we're dealing with as a county and issues that counties in Oregon are generally dealing with. We also had Association of Oregon Counties Legislative Committee, Board of Directors, and committee meetings last Monday and the Friday before. Getting geared up for legislative session, which is coming up in February and is the short session and promises to be very busy. And as part of that, Coos County, the city of Coos Bay, and the city of North Bend are one of 8 joint projects that has been chosen for a piece of legislation that will provide pilot funding for ways for cities and counties to join together to address homelessness and houselessness issues. We have been working with the city of Coos Bay and the city of North Bend for 2 years already on this. And this is an opportunity to get $1 million of funding for 2 years, so $2 million total, to help with some of those efforts and help us to create a strategic plan and move some of our initiatives forward. I have also been working on the Elliott State Research Forest legislation as part of that small group that's been working on this for a while now, over 3 years at this point. It has a bill proposed for the short session also, and we met with the Coastal Caucus last week, I don't know, on the Thursday before last, to talk about the legislation, as well as talking to different legislators about it. The short session is pretty fast to get that legislation through, and we'll just see what happens. You never can predict what will happen. And also attended the Advanced Health Community Advisory Council meeting. I just wanted to make sure that Commissioner Sweet knew that, because I know that that is one that we trade off on and he really enjoys attending. So I will make sure he gets the invitation for the next one. But it is a very important meeting, and we're always glad to have somebody in attendance to hear about how the Oregon Health Fund members feel about their care. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Commissioner Sweet. Thank you.
I sit as Vice President of the ONC Association, the 18 Western Oregon counties of the ONC, and our executive director is going to retire in late May, and we are going to have to select a new executive director for that, and it is going to be extremely difficult trying to replace the director we have. There's a huge learning curve in that particular position. And then we're also going to partially lose the attorney that represents the ONC Association. Although, thank goodness that that attorney is going to stay on for some of the resource management plan lawsuit that we won. So we're not totally starting over with a new attorney. So that's going to be a huge challenge. Attended last Saturday, attended an OAA, Oregon Anglers Alliance meeting. As you may or may not know, we have 65 to 70,000 members. I would like to put a plug in for Procure. They donated in 2 grants, a $5,000 and $8,000 grant. So to help with our funding to bring back fish, salmonids, to the coast of Oregon. And I do believe that Commissioner Sweet's under a time crunch. He has an important appointment this morning, so I'll sign off.
Since the last Board of Commissioners meeting, I've attended several meetings regarding public land.
John, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. There we go. There. I'll try again. Since the last Board of Commissioners meeting, I've been pretty busy attending meetings regarding management of public lands, specifically the County Forest Trust lands and the Coos Bay Wagon Road lands, where we're not getting the revenue generation from those lands that were supposed to get. And so there's some contention and some lawsuits involved, and it's a chore keeping up with all of that. I did help with the interview for the Deputy State Forester, who's actually the Assistant State Forester. We're honored to have the State Forester, Cal Mukamoto, as currently a citizen of Coos County, and this was interviewing for his assistant. I met with the citizens of Allegheny regarding a slide on the West Fork Millicoma Road that has been difficult for them. Our road department is doing what they can on it. The slide has still alive. The earth's moving, has been moving for a couple of years now. We're trying to keep one lane open and wait for the second lane to be opened after we can safely get in and control the slide. Just a nice little note, our mountain bike trail is being used at this time of the year more than one would think, and people that like riding the trail have volunteered to put up a cedar pole fencing around the parking lots to help upgrade the way that looks. County Forestry Department, we're about to complete tree planting. We'll have replanted 508 acres this year. Hope to finish that program next week. And the only tree planting after that will be something we have planned to engage the school children, which has long been a Coos County tradition to have them plant. Goes back even when I was in school and before that. So it's a lot of years that's been going on. And unless the other commissioners have something more to add, I will end the meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you.